to experience that right here in the Blue Mountains and get a taste and also experience this package. The partners on the Blue Mountain Culinary Trail are total 15 locations. We won't have the time to do all of them today, so we're doing 5 today, but there are more which tour operators can choose from and create their packages. So your voice is going Is everybody okay? Alright, I see everybody smiling. I love that. It's a very beautiful day, and as we know, the Blue Mountains can get quite chilly, so we're happy if we're having a nice sunny day here. So I'm going through with you quickly to the all participating locations. So as said, the Belcourt, and then there's also Crystal Edge Restaurant, there's Cafe Blue, Strawberry Hill, Kraton Estate, Serendipity Holistic Resort and Spa. We have Raf Jam Bed and Breakfast. We have the Eats Cafe. We have Newcastle, Heritage Gardens, the Gap Cafe. We have Hollywell Recreational Park. We have the Old Tavern Coffee Estate. We have the Blue Ridge Restaurant and Cottage. And last but not least, we have Mavis Bank Coffee Factory. So the Bor Lodge, what is very interesting is that Robin Lumsden, she wrote a book, a cookbook, where she talks about various different dishes, Jamaican dishes, which has passed down to her through 3 generations, and you will get to see and read about all her recipes. And she shares that in her cookbook, and also she shares in the cookbook the history of the family. So that makes the cookbook special, because it not only shares recipes, you will also get to read about the rich history over 3 generations. So you will actually find Chinese recipes in there and fused with Jamaican recipes, and which gives the Jamaica a nice landscape of the different foods we have. But more to that when we reach at the Bor Lodge, and we will be received there by the on-site guide. Alright, as you can see, we're already on the windy roads going up, and if you look left and right, so you can see it's already getting steep and we're going high up. Yes, if you're not used to these drivings, you might sometimes hope that the both cars can pass. Yeah. But we don't have to worry. We have the best drivers with us. And please, if you have a nice story to share, I welcome you to do that along the day, because it's rich in history, the Blue Mountains. And do we have a maroon on the bus? Just checking, because I will talk more about the Maroons later. So, would you from Maroon Town?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. See? All right. Lovely, lovely. So looking forward to talk more about the Maroon and Maroon Town later.
There's a brown in my room. One of the slave masters. Good grass.
Also interesting, one of the participating locations is Newcastle. And there, if you're basically lucky, and you might see the Jamaica Defense Force doing their drill if you're going to pass there on the way up. And what's interesting there, it has been by the General Sir William Groom. He first established the center up there. Interesting is why he did that is at that time the soldiers were dying from yellow fever, and they did not know what to do. It was also that they didn't want to be stationed. They didn't want to be sent to Jamaica because it was almost like a death sentence to them, because it spread around that the yellow fever is killing off everybody. So General Goom asked in England if he can build another station in the hills. So, but they said no, and then he went on his own initiative and went up to Newcastle and started to establish a military center. All right. And that is how Newcastle came there, because then they saw that the soldiers were less dying up there on that altitude which we're having up there at 4,000 feet. And today it's our JDF training center where the soldiers getting trained, and we're not best to do than up in the hills, right? All right, we're about to arrive. I will have you reminded the next drive gonna be a little longer. It will be about 40 minutes. So when we're gonna come back on the bus, try, if you need to use the restroom, do that here. So when we be on the on our next leg, you wouldn't have to need the restroom. All right. Right, so we are at the Bor Lodge, which the on-site guide will introduce you to their product, to their experience, and give us samples of what they have to offer. What we want to make sure is that you get a nice experience of the product and the package which you can offer to your visitors. So,
Michael.
That's how we are received, and I love it already. And please listen out for signs when we have to go back, and then I have you all back on the bus so we can keep our time schedule. Yeah.
Michael. That's the camera. Everyone's good.
This is a part of a much wider strategy of his. Gastronomy is just one of 5 of the networks under the Tourism Linkages Council, and he will give you more details on how we fit in the full scheme of his vision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicola. I think that Nicola has given the speech. So this morning, I just intend for us to have a little conversation. A little conversation about tourism, this great industry of ours, and how these wonderful moving parts have to fit seamlessly together to create the experience that the visitor pays for. So, P.S. Roberts, very happy to have you with us this morning. And my friend David Jessup. David writes a lot about tourism. He also writes about the Caribbean in general, and he's somewhat of an expert on Cuba. He writes also every week about Cuba, the Cuban experience. So sometimes you wonder why I have so much information. It's because of people like David, because he sends me every week a copy of all the publications that he contributes to, and certainly his ideas. We have known each other now in the business for 10 years, a little over 10 years, yes. And he's done a lot of good work for Jamaica and with prime ministers. And I'm not taking tail out of school, but I know that he is an enormously powerful resource for foreign affairs and other such engagements that we have, particularly in relation to the EU. It perhaps is a little known fact that he had a very strong hand in writing the important chapter on services in the EPA, which embraced the EPA in terms of the CARIFORUM agreement with the EU. So I think that if everything went well, praise him. If it didn't go well, talk to us, the political people who didn't get it right. Very nice to have you with us, David, this morning. The chairman, of course, of the Gastronomy Network, who so ably spoke a while ago, is someone in whom we have great pleasure, to use a nice biblical phrase. She's really been an outstanding partner in tourism for many years, and is one of the leading administrators as well, and managers of the tourism experience. Our new, young Executive Director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, Dr. Perry Wallace. I want to introduce him to you for the first time, the new Executive Director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. Partners all, journalists who are here. It is a red letter day in the building out of the new tourism strategies for the absorptive capacity of our country to respond to the demand that tourism brings. And the little 5-minute conversation I want to have with you is about how do we change the production and consumption patterns in tourism to enable the wealth of tourism to be experienced by the people of Jamaica. I'm going to talk more about it at another place on the 4th of April, so I hope some of you who can't be there will at least listen. And we're going to be a little more extensive in that. Because people feel that tourism is not benefiting the country and the people of the country. And I read it daily, very uninformed narratives about what tourism doesn't do or do. And perhaps the first thing that we need to clear in people's mind is that tourism is not a discrete industry like manufacturing or agriculture. Tourism utilizes the output of all the industries. And the output of those industries are the input of tourism. So what we are a catalyst. We are like an engine that drives a series of key and discrete economic activities. As I earlier said, we are a series of moving parts. One tourist arrives with an acquisition cost that is very high. And the bringing of a tourist to the destination is a production process. It's how do you produce that one tourist? And it involves airline, airports, it involves construction of tourist hotels, acquisition of land, the provision of infrastructure to enable that. It's about the tour operators, it's about the marketing, it's about the destinations that you have to go to, and all of that expense. But that's the production side. So when the tourist comes, the first element out of that dollar has to be to recover the production costs. But when he comes here, he begins now the consumption end. And the consumption is all the wonderful experiences that we have here that he pays for. So when he pays for the room, inherent in that room cost is the production side. When he gets out into the community, when he goes to the parks, when he goes to the gardens, when he buys the food from Scotches, when he goes to eats and Belcourt. And he goes to Belcourt. And when he goes to Papine Market, and he goes to the supermarket, and he goes to the car rental, and he buys a service of a vehicle for 3 days, 5 days, 2 days. When he goes to the beach, and he pays an entry fee, when he goes to Dunn's River, when he goes to swimming with the dolphin, and I'm not going to call any more names lest I get into trouble. But when he goes to all those places, that's the consumption. When he comes up into the mountains and he relaxes and he benefits from the oils and the wraps and the nutraceuticals that we produce up here, that our little people who are great at alternative medicine can pull some things together and provide them with a little refreshment. That's consumption. And that's where the wealth is. So when the visitor arrives, the plane brings wealth. The ship comes, brings wealth. If we do not have the services and the experiences for them to buy, they go back with the wealth. So, my budget speech this year is going to tell you about how we are preparing you, building the whole capacity, because tourism is about people. People. Nothing else. It's people traveling all over the world to meet people, to eat food prepared by people, to wear native clothes made by people, to drive in cars made by people, and go on and on and on and on. That's why they say a barrel of oil provides 5 jobs, but one tourist provides 75 jobs. That's the point. So, we developed 5 networks. If you recall, last year I said, in this new strategy for the building out of tourism, as a real catalyst for growth, although we wanted to grow by 5% per annum, to get to 5 million visitors in 5 years, and to earn $5 billion for Jamaica, to employ 125,000 people directly and indirectly to move to 300, 350, and to bring another 15 to 20,000 new rooms. The 15,000 was within that 5 year, but we will get to 20 beyond. I'll give a scorecard on that next week, and you will see how we have performed against those targets. But underpinning the 5 pillars of growth that we mentioned, and if you recall, there were new products, new market, new investments, new partnerships, and a renewal of the human capital. Human capital. And we had 5 networks that underpin those pillars of growth. One was gastronomy, health and wellness, shopping, entertainment, sports, culture, and the 5th was knowledge network. So today we're talking about the gastronomy network. And gastronomy, or food tourism, as people commonly refer to it across the world, represents 88% of the reason that people travel. 88% of the reason why people travel is for food experiences across the globe. So if last year 1.2 billion people traveled across the world and spent 1.3 trillion US dollars, do the math, for food and gastronomy. And Jamaica, because of our very exciting confluence of cultures and ethnicity, have been able to produce a distinctive cuisine that is reflective of all the ethnicity of the world, and therefore will be responsive to the palates of the world. What we have to do, as Nicola correctly said, is to prepare it a little differently, present it a little more appealing, and to move it from basic street food to the highest level of gourmet presentations. And so what we are trying to do now is to move that concept into the communities. And the Blue Mountain Coffee Trail is an exciting product that we're trying to build, involving so far 15 partners, but we'll go to exponentially. And what we're trying to do is to bring the wealth of tourism into the communities that are in the Blue Mountain area. It's a low density, low impact, soft tourism, which drives a different type of demographic and brings a mixture of nature and creativity and a little bit of hard infrastructure, because we have to do nice roads.
Yes.
We have to do nice physical facilities and the rooms may not necessarily reflect that which is on the North Coast. It very well could be rustic but elegant, because there's a minimum standard and a quality that must pervade the experience, or else they will go to Costa Rica, or they will go to Cuba, or they will go to St. Lucia, and St. Lucia is interesting. So we are going to, while we build out these trails, we are going to be careful about destination assurance. We're going to be careful about quality and standards. And we're going to be careful to ensure that the experience that the visitor has when they come here is not just good, it's not just excellent, it's exceptional. And it in fact is opinionated. And I keep saying that because it's something I want us to get as part of our own culture. An opinionated experience which carves a conversation that stays with your visitor forever and ever. Right now we have 42% repeat business. We can go to 50. No other country in the Caribbean has 42% repeat business. No other country. which means Jamaica is doing something that we should continue to do. So, we're launching today this coffee trail, but we're going beyond that because I want to build a coffee experience that will become part of the gastronomy prototype of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, so that we will be able to bring thousands of visitors annually to destination Jamaica to experience the gastronomy prototypes as we utilize the various elements of it that are peculiar to different geographic areas. For example, a coffee prototype, which would be for the Blue Mountain area. A rum prototype, that would be for St. Elizabeth, perhaps in the Appleton area.
Trelawney.
Or Trelawney, yes. You know, a Busu soup prototype, which would be for a portion of Portland. So as a jerk prototype. And these are the elements which will bring people and expand the consumption side. That's the wealth. So, this morning, we're about wealth creation. This morning, we're about prosperity. This morning, it is my pleasure to launch this element of our strategy, which will hope to bring the inclusiveness in growth and the realization of the wealth that tourism can provide for all our communities. Thank you very much.
First brochure, Jamaica Blue Mountain Culinary Trail, and you all have one in your kits. You want to come up first?
Nicola, she's given me half a minute to tell you about a big event. The biggest event that the tourism family would do anywhere in the Americas. This year has been declared by the United Nations as the International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development. Very important, for development. And there are a number of projects across the world that are going to be taking place. But Jamaica has been selected as the venue for a global conference in which the United Nations, the government of Jamaica, and the World Bank Group have partnered in collaboration with George Washington University and Chemonics, which is a development company out of DC that does a lot of sustainable tourism development projects across the world, mainly in the Far East and the Middle East. And that conference, which is going to examine job creation and inclusive growth in the context of public-private partnership. So the conference is going to bring together to Jamaica, November 27 to 29, all the funding agencies that provide financial support for tourism sustainable development. World Bank, IDB, UNDP, DFID, USA, the Japan in JICA, all the others. And today, I got a very special call. I can't even tell the people because you don't know yet. From South Korea. Say no more. They're calling me at 8 o'clock tomorrow. So what we're saying is that this conference is beginning to excite the world. Because from it, two things have happened. One is the United Nations has written a book on sustainability and tourism. And the outcome of this conference will create the content for the new book. Because this is the first time that you'll be bringing the public and private sector together. You'll be bringing ideas and capital together. So there's going to be provision for B2B activities, and we're going to be inviting countries to bring projects to discuss with funding agency at the conference. So it is not a technical conference. This is a huge, literal marketplace of ideas and best practices and a B2B arrangement where information, projects, and money are going to come together. Finally, out of it will also come the Declaration of Jamaica. And the Declaration of Jamaica will present the blueprint for the next 10 years, I believe. I think the UN development goals, the Millennial Development Goals, is now succeeded by the Sustainable Development Goals. Well, whatever the succession is going to be, Jamaica is 2030. After that, it is Jamaica that is going to define what those new parameters are going to be. And it is important that we present ourselves as that little place on earth where this level of celebration is going to take place, and an output that will define how the world behaves afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, man, yes.
Greetings, my name is Astor Black, Bob Arts Television, and you are?
Hi, nice to meet you. Robert Street from Showcase Jamaica Tours.
What is Showcase Jamaica Tours?
Okay, Showcase Jamaica Tours is a tour company that seeks to enhance the experience of the visitor to Jamaica so that when they leave here they feel like they're a friend of Jamaica, not just a visitor anymore.
I bet you're sorry that Cornwall College didn't accept girls.
No, I'm a proud Wolmerian.
True, I'm a man of might, Cornwallian.
Okay.
Yeah, we're creating Trelawney Stadium to be an attraction.
Okay.
You're familiar with Trelawney Stadium?
Yes, I am. I used to attend the jazz festival there every year.
So now we're creating a reggae in the sun because the cruise ship come in and all the people on the ship stays on.
Okay, okay. So they stay overnight in the hammock? No? Oh, you mean they don't?
They go back on the ship before 5 o'clock and they sail away from Falmouth.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're trying to get them off the ship. Okay. So we're creating Reggae in the Sun, a daytime concert.
Okay, that's interesting.
How it sound?
It sounds very interesting.
That's true, man.
Yes.
So,
and a lot of people know about our music, but they don't experience it firsthand. So that would be a good idea.
The CEO for the Montego Bay Airport said the same thing.
Right.
You know, so we know they're looking for reggae, they're looking for the indigenous music of Rastafari.
Right, definitely.
So that's why we're presenting at Trelawney Stadium.
Yes.
Would your tour company be interested, or would it be something of interest for your tour company to send people to?
Sure, yes.
Okay. We have people like Kimani Mali has signed on to it.
Okay.
So we have the whole Mali family. Everyone, Kimani is there, all the brothers are there. So we're planning to promote long term, and it's an everyday concert except Sundays.
Okay.
So it's the newest attraction in Trelawney.
Okay, great.
So where are you based?
I'm based in Kingston.
Kingston.
Yes.
So you send people to
We can send people anywhere.
All right, cool,
okay.
man.
All right.
Thanks for talking to us on Bob Arts Television.
Thanks for talking to me too, and nice meeting you.
That's right, respect.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, man. We can burn two fire.
We're burning fire for ignorance.
Yes.
And misplaced narratives about tourism and its value as a key generator of wealth.
True.
And the fact that we have not been practicing the product diversification, and we have not been practicing the art of building the capacity of our people to respond to tourism is not an excuse for the fact that people keep saying that tourism doesn't do anything for the country.
And especially the Rasta brethren who don't understand, those are the ignorant who says tourism.
No,
they don't realize
but believe me, the Rasta man don't understand too that he has an enormously popular and powerful product.
And we are the indigenous music for people for reggae.
You have the music, you have the nutraceuticals,
the sacrament,
you have the religion, everything.
Yes, everything. Minister, you know I'm from South St. James Point, and Kensington.
Kensington, yes.
Is Daddy Sharp country.
And Croydon on the mountain.
You see? And when my great-great-great-grandmother fell out of her mom's arm running out of the fire.
Yes.
So you know to me of the fire.
He knew?
Yes.
So you're ready to burn fire?
The road from in this Malawi Fort area, your area, and Derek
No,
area.
it's really point to...
Eldersley?
No, it's beyond that. First of all, there is a repair to be done from Fairfield to Point.
Right,
that road is definitely on.
Oh man.
And then from Point out to the border.
Can you imagine the tourism booths?
We're excited about that prospect.
Yes.
And we're going to be there for you in terms of building out that.
Yes, and Mayor Omar Davis is hype on Daddy Sharp.
I know he is. And he and I have good conversations about it. And so we expect that we'll be able to do much more on that front. And certainly, especially with the conference coming to Montego Bay in November,
I love it.
It's going to be a big...
The Trelawney Stadium.
Oh,
you know, man, I have got...
Believe me, there's something happening with that, which I can't mention now. But
IPL has approved me doing reggae in the sun inside the stadium.
Okay.
And we're going to create a little reggae walk of fame inside the stadium. So I'm just I'm hoping to start August 1st. I know we'll be able to attract 3,000 people and offer like 500 jobs.
I wonder if you could do it around the time of November when these visitors are here.
My proposal is to start August 1st.
Okay, and then you can do another piece down the road.
It's going to be every day except Sundays.
Fabulous.
I know that's what you drive. It's continuous.
And the cruise passengers.
I want 3,000. All right,
keep
man.
on
So
doing
looking
it.
forward
All
to help.
Very
Respect.
good. Very good. Very
Thanks
good.
for that. Don't go nowhere. Bob Arts Television.
Exactly. Good question, right? And this has the opportunity now of creating a whole range of value addition. Right? So what we want to do is to encourage the building out of cottage industry. And we want to use Buff Bay. That's the valley. Right? And bring millions of tourists to come. They move from one experience to the other. Right? One guy is doing coffee mats, another guy is doing coffee standard, another guy is doing coffee essence, another one is doing coffee perfume, roll on and spray and soaps and candles and works, right? And it's an enormous value chain that we have not tapped into, right? And I went to Japan to start the conversation, but I learned a few things when I started the conversation. People not ready to talk, they're ready to say. You understand? Because it will change some things in other places, you know. But you go to Brazil and talk about it in Brazil, and you excite everybody because that's what they're doing, right? And Colombia, Colombia has a huge coffee experience, but it's controlled, it's far more structured, and there's a good public-private partnership. That's right. So what we're saying when we talk about changing the production and consumption pattern in tourism is driving those key experiential activities that people ignore, people don't even think about, but it has so much tremendous appeal internationally. You know, I was saying to Mr. That the second most consumed liquid in the world is, guess what?
Coffee. Iced coffee.
Coffee. Next only to water. Only water is consumed more than coffee across the world. And people question and ask me, oh, why? What about tea? Because tea, you know, is a specialty of some of the largest population centers in the world. But people don't drink tea as often as they drink coffee in a single day.
Neither do they have the story for tea that coffee has. There's that story that is amazing.
So very few people I hear about being addicted to tea. but coffee addiction is the reality across the world. And the United States, which is the richest economy still in the world, is the largest consumer of coffee, and they drink numerous cups per day.
That's correct.
So what we're saying is that we have something here beyond the value of the beans that we parch and export and things, because we have to get to the next level. And
when we start the processing cycle, what we get when we take off the outer covering, we don't use that. Is just used for compost.
That's what I'm saying.
To put back it, but it has many uses. Wines
You
and
can be getting your coffee, liqueur, your coffee, wine. So I'm excited about that, and Nicola and myself are going to be talking more and more with the farmers and the producers here for us to really look at building out this coffee experience as a major product.
yes.
And exactly, a whole industry, a series of cottage industries can flow from this, like providing jobs at every link of the chain
Yes.
as we go along. That's what we say tourism does, you know, change the understanding of what tourism is. It is not just about the hotels, the hotel and the plane and the ship. It's about the people. And we are going to be working to empower the people to recognize this and to provide the credit that is needed to facilitate the conversion from ideas into reality.
So,
You want me to touch? That's the rules.
that's a roasted, that's the green bean after it's processed. That's how you get.
And then you roast.
And then you roast.
This.
That's the original. That's it.
And then this is not your
And that is the ground and
And
the
this is not your product, right?
yes, everything here.
You do this here?
Yes, we have a roaster here. small
So
roaster.
what they do in Japan?
They buy the green beans and they do that over there.
Exactly. That's what
They don't. They raw material, and then, as you know, the value added over there is significant. But Benny will tell you that 60 years ago, Japan was a tea consuming country.
Yes.
Now it's a parallel for
What's China? What's China? What's China?
It's a completely right.
Oversee the operation of the tour here at Kraton Estate. We have also Mr. Alton Bedwood. Alton, and everybody calls him Junior, right? Alton is my tour guide.
Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire, thank you very much. And I just want you to understand that though it's a coffee plantation, there are several other coffee plantations in Jamaica, but UCC Coffee is the only Japanese company who owns and operates its local farm here. We have, to date, 3 properties owned by the Japanese. One is a lease, actually, Rosedale, and that's on the other side of Woodford. Kraton Estate is the love of Mr. Tadeo Yoshima and also his son, Mr. Tatsushi Yoshima, and Masaru Yoshima, another son of Tatsushi. And therefore, Kraton Estate is very sentimental to UCC Japan. We want to encourage locals and international companies to make Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee, Kraton Estate, a part of their coffee plantation tour in Jamaica. Our property spans 30 acres and approximately 25 or so in coffee. We offer a tour of the Great House. This Great House, the tour guide will tell you later, it's over 200 years old. And the coffee plantation farm also, we take you from the lowest elevation here, it's about 800 meters, actually, to about 1,000 or 900 meters above sea level. It overlooks the Kingston and St. Andrew and also St. Catherine. Thank you for making this a part of your tour. Thank you very much. Alton Bedwood. Alton or Junior will be taking you through the Great House, giving you a tour and the history of this Great House. Also, he will be taking you through the coffee plantation floor. For those who are wearing comfortable shoes, you will enjoy this tour. Have a good night.
As this is what said, everyone calls me Junior. The Kraton Estate tour is really an experience, and we have visitors from a wide cross section. We have very few countries that we haven't had visitors from. Now the Kraton House was built in 1765, and it was first called Villa de Medici. Now the written history would have started in 1805. That was when the house was renamed Kraton Hall Estate, and has kept that name since 1805. Throughout the 1800s, it was used as second residence of governors and archbishops of Kingston. At the turn of the century, the most notable owners would have been the Tate and Lyle Company, British West India Sugar Company. And this is where the Sir Robert Kirkwood, who's a very notable figure in Jamaica's pre-independent history, would have used Kraton Estate, would have lived there. And his wife also, her books are still here. Now, in the 70s, a team of American lawyers took over the operations of Kraton and they started the coffee cultivation and reintroduced coffee on a much larger scale. And then in 1981, it was acquired by Mr. Tado Yoshima. Upon the death of Mr. Yoshima in 1993, pardon me, on his last visit to Jamaica, 2 weeks actually after visiting Jamaica, he'd have died. And he basically willed that the property should never be sold, but should be preserved for the people of Jamaica. And for persons like yourself to have access to Kraton Estate and have a good coffee smile. So the ultimate objective of Kraton Tour is really to have a good coffee smile. Okay? Now I'll be giving you insights on what we do here. Earlier someone said a lecture, but it's a coffee conversation. Alright, so it's very interactive. Most Jamaicans do believe that coffee is not a part of our history because we do not consume. But there are many factors, and we will basically speak a little bit about that. But we should be very proud of this product. It's the best coffee in the entire world. As the minister said earlier, it is the second most consumed beverage in the world. It is the second longest traded commodity. And believe it or not, its origin is actually in Ethiopia, a region of Ethiopia known as Kaffa. And that's where the name coffee comes from. So if we want to say it's ours, all right, and we hope to, yes, and we hope to basically develop a coffee drinking culture in Jamaica. And I was so pleased that this organization was established, and we do hope that we will be a very integral part of promoting Blue Mountain Coffee and promoting a new generation of coffee consumers. All right, thank you very much. He left Nancy in 1717 with 8 plants. Colonel Marquis Gabriel de Clou. He arrived on the island of Martinique with 1 plant. And from 1 plant, among the French territories of Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Haiti, over 54 years, it directly reproduced 18 million coffee plants. And that was how 6 of those plants were given to Sir Nicholas Laws, a Consul General of Jamaica then, former governor of the island, and they were planted on the Temple Hall estate. It's the very first place in Jamaica to grow coffee. And that gave rise to Jamaica's coffee industry. Please note also that no country on earth per capita has produced more coffee than Haiti. And all the modern techniques that we now use in our industry were all developed in Haiti. In fact, after the Asian Revolution, Jamaica's coffee took off because all the expertise came over from Haiti to grow coffee here on the island. So there were even estates owned by Asian migrants. Jamaica's first export of coffee was realized in 1737, which would have been 83,000 pounds of coffee, or 40,000 kilos. Our highest export was realized in 1814, and that was 34 million pounds of coffee, or some 16.5 million kilos. Today, we have been producing less than 10 million, way less than 10 million. And the bulk of our coffee now is for export. We must acknowledge that we're improving in our local consumption and distribution. At one point, as much as 95% of our coffee was being for export. Now it's only 85%. And 70% of what is exported thereabout goes to Japan. The other 30% will go elsewhere to Europe and North America. Okay. Any questions? Sorry.
What is the value of the cloud cover?
Value of it?
Cloud cover.
Of?
Cloud cover.
Clone?
Cloud cover.
Oh, the production. Okay.
The mist.
Oh, the mist. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, the words, you know, because cloud is like where you stood. Well, all right, no, 11:30 a.m. This is our typical afternoon. Alright, so when the rest of the island is hot, the Blue Mountains is cool. And that will directly affect how the coffee expands and contracts. So the Blue Mountain coffee cherry, between 4 and 6, it will have slight expansion. But the sun is further from the Blue Mountain, so it won't impact that much. And once the sun sets, the temperature goes below 20 degrees Celsius. So what will happen is that the Blue Mountain coffee contracts for 70% of its life and expands for 30. So the bean is more dense, and then it moves from a state of acidity to alkaline. Alright, this coffee naturally produces a pure form of niacin. Alright, so it does not, drinking a cup of this coffee, no matter how sensitive you are, you will not get excessive palpitations. Because the niacin in Blue Mountain coffee is alkaline. It has taurine, so it will not get you like this, but get you on a rhythm. Okay? And it produces high levels of active antioxidants. So there are elements in this coffee that naturally fight against cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and dementia. If we ever wonder why, growing up as a child in the country, from the day you're born, grandma has sugar. And till the day she dies, and she does not die from sugar. Our grandpa doesn't die from sugar. What is diabetes? But you notice that it was customary that every single morning, walking through any community, no matter where you are in Jamaica, it will be the scent of coffee. Exactly. Always drink that cup of boiling coffee in the morning. Alright, so those are the attributes that really separate our coffee from the rest of the world. Alright?
Thank you very much. So you'll just say most expensive, so why not?
The cloud cover that they talk about.
The mist?
The cloud cover is how
most definitely.
But that's what gives you the 70%.
The mist most definitely, because what the mist does is that it provides the coffee with exterior moisture at a most unusual point in time, which is the mid-afternoon hours.
So we need to emphasize it because it's a feature.
Exactly.
Greetings.
Greetings, Astor. So nice to see you again.
Let me tell you about welcome to Bob Arts Television.
Thank you very much.
You know, I always see you at Jazz Fest doing all that massive catering. Why did you get into catering? And why are you on this tour, this food tour?
Catering is something I grew up among food. My father, who is from Canton, China, my mother, who is a Jamaican from Alexandra. So there was always food, there was a culture. And then we had business, my parents had business in a community where every Chinese New Year and Christmas, my father would cook up a lot of food and feed hundreds of people. And every day it was just a variety or something different on the menu for us.
So you never string cotton food.
Never string cotton food. And of all the other art form of studies that I've done, interior decorating, pattern making, fashion designing, modeling, I came right back to food.
Fantastic. Now, I've seen you at Jazz Fest doing the catering. Trelawney Stadium, what do you think about it?
Trelawney Stadium is to be utilized some more. I can tell you, I went on Allure of the Seas, which is the biggest cruise ship 2 years ago. Came to Falmouth. And it was 6,900 of us passengers and 2,000 other crew members. Now you're looking at close to 10,000 bodies coming off the ship. And they didn't have much to sell us as a tour guide, telling us about Falmouth. The only thing they promote for Falmouth was the jewelry shops, the gift shops. There was nothing about food, nothing about culture, nothing about coming. Jamaica needs a reggae yard, an authentic reggae yard. It needs something where the tourists don't only listen to reggae music on the ship, but they need to feel it. This is the home of reggae, ska, dance hall, and yet we cannot experience it in our hometown. When we came to Falmouth, we had about a 4-hour layover, and we took a private bus and go up to a restaurant on the strip that I knew about. And at the time, 23 of us was cruising. It was my uncle and his wife celebrating their 50th anniversary, wedding anniversary, and 21 of us sailed with them.
What I'd like to tell you about is the Independence Park Limited has now just approved a Reggae in the Sun tour at the Trelawney Stadium. So we're building it out. We're going to have a Reggae Walk of Fame, Music started at 11 o'clock. By the time the ship ready to go, we have them back on the ship. So it's going to be a reggae concert. Kimani Mali has just signed on. So, things is here.
That is long overdue. Reggae, the rest of the world, when you travel the world to reggae shows in France, in Germany, in Japan, when you Google what reggae is, dancehall, ska is across the world. Morocco, where people don't even speak English. Japan, where people are singing reggae, singing One Love. China, any part of the world that you Google. And Google with Jamaican music or music of Jamaica.
So we're creating the Reggae Walk of Fame at the Trelawney Stadium where people can come and see our icons, meet our icons, have autograph sign and everything.
Listen, that will be a fantastic attraction for the tourists. Any one day at Falmouth Cruise, you can look at the amount of people are coming in, and if you can see up to 10,000 bodies coming
and if
off.
2 ships, there's 15,000.
There's 2 ships, yes.
Now, you're still doing your catering?
Yes, I am. That's the love of my life.
Tell us your catering name.
I'm Catering by Lorraine. I have been in business over 30 years.
Yes, give us your telephone number so everybody can call you. I would love for you to be at the stadium still.
Okay, you can reach me at 876-564-8008. Let me repeat, 876-564-8008.
We're going on the coffee tour, so don't go nowhere. We're coming right back. Bob Arts Television, big. Not true.
One love.
Bless.
Boom, this is Kenyatta Hill representing for Astor Black. I want to tell you something. Kensington, Maroontown, Gallant, whole South St. James. Look forward, man. Brutality. I tell you about. Woo, 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 woo. Astor Black never get. Astor Black never get. We wait, man. We wait. Astor Black never get. We wait. We wait. Astor Black never get. We wait. Although the battle seems so hot in Babylon, the conflict gets so and things get really harder. We wait.
Blessed love, tune in to Bob Arts TV, where you find all the cultural and uplifting and mellow vibes day and night. Check it out. Don't move your dial one bit. Hey, I'm Jose Walton. Tune in and stay tuned to Bob Arts TV, where you get all the inspiration and the cultural vibration. Don't move your dials. Bob Arts TV. Boom!
The Babylon jump out of Jeep and him say, boy, come give her a shirt out of the bag there. And Astor Black throw the bag forward and give it to Babylon. And everything Babylon side Astor Black with, him take it and ask him when him get it like him no work. But that's such an insult to black man and their dignity. Brutality we read.
Was a person, fierce, proud. She was a leader, right? She had discipline. And she was a master motivator with a lot of passion. And you have been to the mountains now, so you know what it needs for somebody at that time to defeat the British Army. Remember at that time, the British Army was one of the worldwide, the strongest army. So when they came on the island with their weapons, right, and wanted to enslave everybody, right? So we had the first black freedom fighters in the mountains, in the Americas, right here in Jamaica. So how did she do that? How did she make the mountains and use it as her advantage, right? Because they were like, well, you know, they have all the military strategy and weapon and all of that, and still they couldn't get to the Maroons. So that just to show how powerful the Queen Nanny was, because they had no chance to surprise them by attack. Actually, what she applied was a guerrilla tactic, and we heard that also by General Nguyen Gap in Vietnam. He did the same thing when America attacked them. They used the guerrilla tactics because it is very difficult to fight somebody if you can't identify your opponent. So they camouflaged, they used the bush, so they hide, so they couldn't see where they are. They hide in the bush and then would attack them. So it's a hit and run tactic, what they applied. So it was very confusing for the British because they didn't know where to attack, because they came and then they run, and that was very new to them, because basically for them it was fronting, you shoot and either you have no bullets or you have no man. So she was highly intelligent. I mean, really tried to understand at that time to come up with all these strategies and with the fears to say we are free and we are not accepting enslavement, and to bring that, well, and to bring a lot, how do I say, to get a lot of, and so they did never know where they are, the British Army, because they had the abeng and they would make a sound like something like this. And they would and they would be, and you see now how when you're up there, and so you see that sound now, you run and you come down and you attack them. So they had various things which they used to fight against them, like traps. Like you would build a trap and they would fall in there. Or you are a bush and they pass you and they don't even see that you're in the bush. That is actually you. So they're passing you and then you basically stab them in the back and you run away. So, and this is now where they're very hard. So by the time you understand what's going on, they're gone and they attack you from the next point. So that makes the whole thing very difficult. And so in order to execute that, the Queen Nanny showed how a proud person she is, and how you can that even see today in a Jamaican woman. A Jamaican woman is fierce. She's a leader. She has a lot of passion, right? Bop, bop, bop. Yes. So, and of course, also she was a healer. She knew how to use different bushes for different remedies. So all up to date, in nowadays, people still go to the Maroon Town and try to get in touch with a healer and get the right herbs for whatever issue they're having. We already know in Africa we had other leaders like the Queen Nzinga. We had Ya Asante from Ghana. So we know we're coming from a strong ancestors. So because people sometimes say when they see Shelley and Fraser race down the track or Usain Bolt, they're like, but how them do it? And we excel in so many areas, and they're like, but how